Tests that I've done and other field tests that I know other people have done in an urban setting like this where it goes through houses. So line of sight is important for all these kind of radios. A mile. 2 if you're extremely lucky, but a mile for sure. Everywhere I've gone it's been about a mile. I've done a field test here in our neighborhoods here as well as up in Daybreak area, and it didn't matter. It was a mile. It was a mile. Okay, but that's fine. We generally live within a mile of our block captain, and most of us within our command center where the block captains report to. So the next technology up is a GMRS. Okay, and GMRS stands for it's in your paper. It's in your handout. Gosh, I'm having mind blank. General Mobile. Thank you. GMRS, these have a little more power to them. They can go up to 5 watts. These have more features to them, more power. They can go, they say on the box, some of them 35, 40 miles. I'm sure you've seen some of the advertisements. Really, anybody want to venture a guess at how far they go? If you get 5, you're doing well in an urban setting. Now, I've been up in the mountains with my FRS radio. In fact, this little bad boy right here. I've been up in the mountains deer hunting. From peak to peak, 5 miles was cake. It was easy. I had no interference. And I had nothing, I didn't have an Angel Moroni between my house and the command center. Okay, which I happen to have in my neighborhood. So I have a problem there, so a mile is all I get. But in the mountains, surely I can get 5 miles, and I have, and it works just fine. Okay, so here we got 5 miles transmission. If you're lucky, okay, 2 miles for sure, I've been fairly certain for 2 miles. So now what do? Let me give you a little story. When Hurricane Katrina hit the Gulf Coast, it wiped out all the communications. Everything was down. And for the first, 12 hours after the hurricane left, only one method of communication was able to get through to the outside world, outside of the hit zone. Any ideas what that was? Ham radio. Smoke signals. Everything was wet. There was no smoking going on there. Ham radios. And why do you say ham radios?
Shortwave radio that can reach a long distance, and people who are ham radio operators often have the facility or equipment that stay in operation when power's gone.
Yeah, that's correct.
Somewhere a long way away and back again if needed.
That's correct. The amateur radio operator owns their own equipment, transmission equipment, and they maintain it. So when the power goes out and when all other communications have failed, how did the church, the LDS Church, communicate to interior of Louisiana from Texas, by the way? They used amateur radios. So the LDS Church has throughout the region radios in some of the churches for that very reason, to communicate to the outside world. But as I mentioned, we don't need to worry about this part, right? The Emergency Operations Center to the outside world. We don't really need to worry about that. However, I just want you to think about something. That is this. If you're over here at work, like I am, and I work 20 miles away, what technology do I have available to me to communicate to my home? Cell phone, text messaging, computer, email, all the things necessary that requires somebody else's network, right? So, in 2 years ago when we had a big snowstorm and we couldn't get out of the parking lot where I work. I work over by the airport, and I-80 was clogged, nobody could leave, you know, power's fluctuating in and out. What do? What do I tell my wife? Well, after that experience, we decided, I had already got my amateur radio license. She decided to get her license. What that means is to become a ham radio operator, you need to take a written test. And all that is, it's different sections so you know some of the rules, the laws, the basic technology behind it, so you can have an understanding of how the thing operates. It's really kind of nice to know that you can talk on air, and you don't want to talk on air and have your voice transmit on channel 2, right?
Yeah.
That'd be a little bit embarrassing. You have a guy on your knock on your door. Please come down to the station and talk to me for a few minutes, right? So we want to minimize that occurring in your life. I don't think it'd be fun. I'm not there. So there's a written test that goes along with the amateur radios. Is it hard? Depends if you study or not. If you don't study, it's hard. If you do study, it's hard. I'm joking. Anybody can do it. In fact, 10-year-olds and 12-year-olds have taken the test and passed. But it takes some study. It does. It takes some study. Or you can go to class, and then you can study too. Okay? But it does take some time. And please don't think that I'm just trying to scare you about not taking your license test. Please do it. It opens up amazing things. It really is a lot of fun. So what we decided to do, we do amateur radio. Now I have 2 examples here. These are both mine. These are both handhelds. One's a little more complicated than the other. They're both kind of complicated with all the buttons on there. Right? How many buttons does your cell phone have? Right? Nowadays, you have one button on an iPhone. It's on and off, but you got to scroll through everything. Well, amateur radio guys, they want to push a button and you're done. That's why all the buttons are on the front. And there are some menus on there, sure. But these are some radios. This one's about $100. And this one is more than that. You can go anywhere from $100 or even $50 to $150, $300-ish, or even more. This doesn't cost more than that. But these are our radios. This is a little more durable, a little more rugged. This one's not quite as rugged. This is my wife's. This is mine. I travel with this one. This one she keeps on the desk. So we bought for the need. That make sense? We bought for the need. Same capabilities. When we talk about amateur radio, the FCC has allotted to the amateur radio different slices of that frequency bands. Meaning if you go from very low frequency, like channel 2, to very high frequency, like channel 13, right? You remember in the old days when the channel 13 first came online, what kind of antenna did it look like? Remember? We had the old rabbit ears, and they had a little round thing. You remember that? Why is that? Because the frequency was different. Right? Have you ever also driven down the road and see these big, tall antennas? And also you see your antennas like this are really small? Why is that? Different frequencies, right? Just different frequencies. So, the FCC allotted to the amateur radio crowd different bands at different frequencies, and some antennas are going to be really short, and some are going to be really big. The bigger they are, the farther you can transmit. Make sense? The smaller they are, not as far. It's simple. Okay. So the amateur band. Now we're over here, we need to contact home. Okay. So now you contact everybody here.